Okay, let's get started. There was an experimenter way back, actually, who was Russian. His name was Kozyrev, and he did an experiment which he named the Kozyrev gravity reduction. And it was very simple in theory, and this is a very basic drawing, very like the one he made, which is a balance with two sides that are equally balanced, and the side on the left here has a spinning gyroscope. So the experiment was to show that a spinning gyroscope would be lighter, so when it was spinning it would be lighter, and when it was not spinning it would be heavier. So he balanced it to a neutral point and started the gyroscope, and he found that when it was spinning clockwise it weighed 95 grams, and when it was spinning counterclockwise it was 92 grams. And I don't know what the stationary weight was, but it was considerably less than the 92 grams. It was 80 some grams. I'm sorry I don't have that information. So it was a very basic experiment. The other interesting part was that his experiments always included a cup of tea. And so he put a cup of Russian tea under it, and he found that it further reduced the weight of the spinning gyroscope. And I'm going to replace this tea with another thing, and I'll explain that. So now we go down to the scooterscottie's gravity reduction high frequency high voltage spinning armature. So this is the same experiment. The picture's a little different. Here's the balance beam scale with my little, wouldn't you know, mag-lev motor balanced on one side against a weight. And I'm going to zero out the balance, as you'll see, and then I'm going to start up the high voltage, high frequency electricity from the Tesla coil, which is a standard Tesla coil, 110N, 15,000 volts on the primary, safety gap, spark gap, and this is the tank circuit right here. And that boosts that in turn up to, I'm not exactly sure, about 250,000 volts. And I'll be feeding that into a little electrode through a Rodin coil, which is a Starship coil that I built. It's not powered up yet for this experiment, and I'm very anxious to get input from people on this. So this is not a totally conclusive experiment or anything, but it's very exciting, and if we get like a positive result excuse me, then the scale will tip upwards, and the high frequency high voltage electricity being fed into the motor will lighten, and also the spinning. So we'll do that too. First I'll spin it up and we'll weigh it, see if that makes any difference. Then I will feed in the high voltage high frequency. So here we go, on to the experiment. Okay, here we have a shot of the experiment. I'm going to go over the parts here just for a second. There's the secondary of the Tesla coil. There's the primary. It's got a Terry filter which prevents feedback to the primary transformer. I have a standard spark gap, the one in front. Capacitor, which has variable plates. You can add and subtract plates. I've got it tuned up to a pretty good frequency. Off of that comes a small wire over to the experiment. There's the electrode, shot of the electrode coming through, which will be energizing the middle part of the armature. and the Rodin coil, which is not hooked up to anything at the moment, because when I hook equipment up to it, the high voltage, high frequency jumps over, so I'm going to have to overcome that somehow. The object of the Rodin coil will be to try and control and focus the the high frequency, high voltage power. So anyway, on to a little demonstration, and then we'll do the experiment. Okay, be prepared for a little noise. Okay, balance beam at rest. Okay, the motor is spun up at some low revs. We'll give it a big spin here and watch. Okay, a little bit of spinning it up now. Wow, I really didn't expect to see any result. I mean, that's not much, but this isn't like a really, really accurate scale, but it does show. And possibly it's due to some kind of magnetic influence from that coil there, which is the run coil. It's a Bedini coil. I'm going to spin it up again. If it gets too low, it runs really rough. Well, it will have to be retried, but I would say there's some kind of a result there. The spinning up reduces its weight by a very fractional amount. I mean, it's just minuscule, but noticeable. Okay, now it's up to high revs. I'm going to balance out the motor one way during the high revs. Sorry, okay, there you see it. Now for the addition of the high frequency, high voltage. Off for a minute so you can observe how fast this motor is running. It is humming. It's also grounded, I wanted to add. On the end of the armature that touches that is on the coil that goes over to the base of the Tesla coil. So here we go again. That's some rough video, isn't it? It was really hard handling the camera and setting up everything, and like I said, there's no conclusive proof there or anything, but I think there's enough there available so that we could talk about and do some more experiments, and especially with your input. So let me know what you think, and happy motoring.